Hello and welcome to the Property Management Show. I'm your host, Alex Osenenko. My day job is the CEO of 4.5, a marketing company that works exclusively with fee-based property management companies. I spent the last 7 years of my life helping property management companies become more successful by improving sales, marketing, and operational efficiency. On this show, we'll deconstruct success into its key components and invite subject matter experts to help you improve every facet of your business. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome to the show. I have a very, very special guest. I was going to introduce him as the business development manager expert. In other words, a person who is responsible for training business development folks for property management companies in Australia. Now, I initially wanted to say Australia, but now I'm thinking about there's not one analog to this gentleman in the United States, and in fact, no other country except where he is, which is Australia. So I'm really excited to introduce Deniz Yusef. Deniz, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks, Alex. Thanks for having me on board.
Hey man, it's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to exploring this topic. And this is one of the questions that I get a lot. And the question is this: when am I ready to hire a business development person or salesperson to sell my property management services? 200 units, 120 units, 800 units? What is the answer do you usually give?
Well, how serious are you about your growth? I mean, you can have a business development manager with no management. You know, I'm dealing with an office at the moment. They're they're working from Bali to grow a rent roll in Australia, would you believe? Mm-hmm. So they're going to be working remotely on his own, and he's going to hire a BDM in Brisbane to grow the rent roll, and he has got zero managements. So these guys, they've got a little bit of financial backing, so there's no number of managements really. It's just interesting to see what your goal is as well. I've got principals that I've started training from 6 managements, and they were the BDMs. So in themselves, they're doing it all until they got to, our goal was to get them to 38 to 40 managements, and then they employed a PM staff. But it's one of those questions that's really hard to answer because there's so many different variables to consider. So how many can a person manage? A property manager manage? Well, it depends on how much they've got, how much backing and assistance they got within your department.
Right, and technology.
So there's no real number to put on it. But personally, my attitude is about, if you're serious about growth and you're looking to put on a property a BDM, then you need to be overstaffed.
Yeah.
To be prepared for that.
So that's one of the ways that the services, or any kind of business will grow. And a salesperson, in my opinion and in my practice, is an asset to the team, right? They bring a lot more than they consume, right? But so what would be that trigger? So again, I just want to dig in a little deeper here and understand maybe kind of a quick answer for people who are considering hiring a BDM. What would be the number of units that they need to bring online? Let's call it an average management fee of $120 a month. What would be the number of managements they need to bring online every month to warrant their existence?
Sure. So this comes back to, the average income that each unit is bringing your office. So if you've got a company that's only averaging $1,500 a year as an income, then you'd be wanting to get a minimum 10 to cover their wage. But again, it's what your overheads are, what you can afford, to employ. Some people are employing a minimum wage and giving a higher bonus as well. So they're happy to wear the costs for 12 months. It's a tricky one. So some people, if they're getting 6 a month, they're happy. And then I've got an office that I'm just about to train in on the Gold Coast. They're already listing 28 a month, Alex. And they've employed me just to push them to 30.
Really nice. So, Deniz, you had an interesting career path to get to where you are. I'd love to get you to talk a little bit about your experience, because you were the BDM and you were the top, in a nation or something like that. Can you talk about that a little bit and kind of talk through your experience there?
Sure. So I'll go back to I'll strip it back a little bit for you, Alex. I had no educational experience. I had no training in sales. My background is hospitality, so I worked in restaurants and for a few years, and then I moved into fruit and vegetables. So I was a fruit vendor. I don't know if in America you guys have shops that only sell fruit and veggies.
We do.
Grocery shops that, yep. So I used to run grocery shops, and my wife and I were actually going to travel to America for 2 years with our two children, and we fell pregnant with our third child, so we didn't end up traveling, and that's how I fell into real estate. So from fruit and veggies to real estate. So I was the leasing agent, and then I became the BDM after 9 months. So my job was just to solely list management and grow the business. So in essence, I took on the attitude of doing it like fruit and veggies. So that was the only thing I knew, was how I got new clients for fruit and veggies. That's what I was going to do for real estate. So I listed just over 60 managements in my first year.
Now, when you say listed, let me just convert to United States terms, right? You basically sold 60 management contracts.
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes. So we call it listing. You guys call it you get a door. Is that
Door,
right?
That sounds about right. The door management contract, right? It could be few doors with one contract, but yeah.
Yeah. So I got I think it was 67 individual doors that then was converted to our office to manage for
Right.
full time. So not lease only or a let only. I'm not sure what you'd call it in America.
That's right. Yep.
It was pure securing the management or securing the door. Then, look, I learned a lot off my mistakes. My training was, go in the door and get the listing. I didn't know how to sell the services of our property management department to win the business. Reduce the fees. Happy to admit I reduced the fees because I didn't know what I was doing. So then my second year, I then listed 191
191?
Yeah.
That's
I learned
massive.
off my mistakes. So 191 was my second year. Look, I'm from a small country town. 23,000 people lived in the town at the time. And then my biggest opposition was my brother was in real estate, my uncle, my dad, my mum worked in real estate. So it was really hard to convince people to use them. I then listed 237 in my next year.
Yeah.
So my goal was to continue to beat what I did the year before. So I had like a whiteboard behind me with all my numbers, and I was always aiming to beat them. Then I listed 317 the year after that. And I was averaging 34 and a half doors a month.
Wow.
I was tired.
Wow. And you worked for you worked for another company? Is that I mean,
Yeah, I made my bosses very rich.
Yeah, I mean that's like 1,000 units over 3 years or so, 4 years.
It was 926 units, should we say, in exactly 4 years I did that. So 48 months of being a BDM, and 88% of those were at full fee. I kept all my stats because I had the KPIs in place, and those KPIs is the same KPIs that I keep people that I train on because it worked for me.
So we're talking key performance indicators here. Just wanted to kind of
that's right. So we've got certain targets that they've got to reach. We've got certain tasks that I expect them to do, follow-ups, etc., and implementing a contact management system. So you guys have got a great contact management system, in America
with Lead Simple, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, Lead Simple is fantastic. I would have loved to have Lead Simple when I was a BDM. We didn't have the technology like there is today for lead generating, and what you guys have got over there is phenomenal. It's really good to work with.
Yeah, the tech really stepped up. Now we just got to make sure the right people are on the bus. So let me then spin this out a little bit and say, okay, how do people find guys like you? I mean, how do I find, as a property manager, how do I find Denizs who's going to go in and have a very unsuccessful year of 67 properties? Unsuccessful, I'm quotations, because that's still a good target for a lot of people. And then go up to 317, and make a good living doing it. How do you find people like you?
Well, I suppose I was lucky to be one of those freaks, and I'm fortunate enough to be training a couple of those freaks as well. They're not easy to come by, but the biggest mistake people make, Alex, is they employ a property manager to be the BDM, but it's a complete different mindset. They're two different positions. They're two different roles. You can't. I'm not saying that a property manager can't go out and list properties, because they've been doing it that way for years. But if you want to be serious and successful about listing a lot of doors and securing management, you need to employ a sales mindset person. One way of putting it is you've got like a car yard. You call them car yards in America. And you've got your mechanics and you've got your salespeople in the suits. The salespeople's job is to convert those people walking onto the yard to sell a car, to sell a vehicle. And then you've got your mechanics that look after the vehicle once it's purchased. So it's two different mindsets. The salesperson, he's going to be no good at being a mechanic. You know, you can throw a set of overalls onto him, but he's not going to be able to look after the car like a mechanic. And the mechanic, you can throw a suit on them, and I'm sure they're capable of, you know, talking about the car and being able to sell it, but they're not going to have the same negotiating skills as what a specified salesperson is.
Right.
So a BDM is the salesperson of property management.
So within that, sticking with the BDM's role, now, how would you, like, what are the major, let's say, tasks or areas of responsibility for BDM coach? They don't manage properties, clear enough. What do they do into inbound versus outbound leads versus day-to-day activities? How would you break that up?
Yeah, well, it's a combination of everything. I like to use the analogy of we've got to be like an octopus. So there's all these different areas of where a BDM's got to generate leads. So if you've got a sales department in the office, then that's one form of getting some leads. And each lead has got tentacles on it, like an octopus, right? So you've got sales-bound leads from, you guys call it a broker, a sales broker, you know, that's selling the houses.
Right.
So those guys are dealing with investors all the time. So you need to create, you know, relationships with those with salespeople and network with them.
So we call it, just to kind of just, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your flow, but I wanted to interpret stuff from to kind of United States terminology. So you talk about building referral relationship with the real estate sales shops.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Yes,
Perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know, in America, you've also got sales only offices and you've got property management only offices. So I was fortunate enough to work. We had property management and a sales division. So regardless, if you're in an office like that, you still need to go out and network with other salespeople outside of your office, because they may not be happy with the performance of what their property management division's doing. So it's always networking and creating referral systems within sales departments.
So here, just to add very quick value point here, I believe this particular tasks or this particular let's call it revenue stream or lead source is exceptional, but you got to lead with value. I found a lot of people being very successful, Dennis, by education, by setting up workshops, like a property management how-to workshops or investor, how-to workshops for different real estate offices. They can buy them coffee, they buy them donuts, they buy them bagels, whatever, right? They come in and they teach them property management workshop for an hour. You give something for nothing. You lead with value, and you'll be amazed the kind of return. So that's an awesome. So that first avenue is building realtor referrals around town. What's the next kind of a lead source?
Okay, on that line, Alex, which is a perfect example, I love the word educating, because your job is to educate people why to use your services. So you've just explained how you can educate other realtors so they refer business to you. Well, we've also got to think about who are the investors dealing with before they even think about buying an investment property. They might be using a mortgage broker, they might have a financial planner, their accountant. There's all of these people that your BDMs need to also set up a referral network with, and go and have your morning teas, your afternoon teas, your lunch dates, etc., with all of those guys. So you can set up a referral system. That's catching the leads at the highest point that you can, because those guys, the investor, the mum and dad, they haven't even spoken to a real estate office yet. So if you can create a network and get your name branded and have an information night targeting those accountants, We have conveyances over here where they use to when a contract is exchanged. So we want those people referring business to you as well. So I used to do a lot of network meetings with anyone that is dealing in the process of real estate. So over in America, you've got accountants, you've got solicitors that, organise the contracts for the sale. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll call them, I think, title companies.
Planners.
Title companies, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so you need to have the same meetings as what you would another real estate office with those people as well, or have a combined one.
So with this particular lead source, it sounds like once you understand, and you and I kind of spoke through it just now. So once, as a property management business owner, once you understand the exact kind of a nature of the relationships need to be built, help to kind of put the right people in front of your BDM, and then give them a quota. Give them, I'd say, set expectations of how many meetings, how many lunches they have, and make sure don't be stingy. Let them buy few little things within reasonable amount. People, this is the best thing that is misunderstood, and some people abuse it. But giving something for nothing is a tremendous way for you to get to what? The golden rule of reciprocation. People reciprocate. It is an absolute true, and that's our human nature. And people who are not reciprocating, they're actually very small minority. So allow them, give them the ability to spend a bit of money and time too, right? Answer questions, teach, educate, and that referral network will start building. So that's awesome. That's one area that they can focus on, set expectations, and make sure the BDM is executing. What's the next one?
Well, it costs money to make money.
Sure.
So yes, give your BDMs some, financial freedom in, or a budget is what we would call it. Give them a budget of what they're allowed to spend to make money. And if you increase the budget and you're finding they're listing more properties, continue to increase that budget. And once you find that stoppage, then stop. So the key performance indicators, you're talking about, we call them information nights. Information meetings that you would have as part of your networking. So the other people that you need to have an information night around is actually inviting the investor or the potential investor to an information night. So seek the source directly. So get them over. And who you would get to speak at an information night, Alex, is the sales agent. You get an accountant to speak at it. You get a tax man to speak at it. You get various experts in their fields to do with real estate and invite them into speaking at the in information night. Now, I don't need to touch on politics at the moment because you guys are going through an election, but if you know someone politically...
Just voted. Yeah, it says just voted sticker, but anyway, go ahead. Yeah, of course. Okay.
But if you know someone that's got some political sway, you invite them to speak at your information night because they actually bring an entire new crowd of people to something that's branded to your company. So your company is then looked at as the area expert. I was fortunate enough to be best friends with the mayor in our town at one of the information nights, and it was our biggest number pulling thing. And we had him speak on for 15 minutes the future development of our area, which was really good. So I'll move on to another task of what I expect to do. Now, I'm going to share this one with you, even though you can't do it in America, because I find it really strange.
I'm interested. We can adapt and convert. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, well, I don't think you can because of your laws. We actually do what we call letterbox dropping. Letterbox drop. So that's where if we have just listed a property, so we're going to start looking for a tenant, then I used to have flyers. We have just listed a property in your street. Do you know anyone looking to move, or would you like an updated rental opinion on your investment? And I would actually put that in the letterbox. Now, you're not allowed to do that.
No, but I actually am working. This is interesting you brought this up. I'm working with one of our customers on, we call it a beta product, but essentially we're doing some other mailers. But right now, what we're doing is exactly what you said, and we actually physically we're mailing the postcards with, hey, we just this house up for rent for this much. Just if you know anybody, or if you're interested in free rental analysis for your property, if you consider renting it out. Exactly what you just said, but you have to pay a little bit of money to post office. Other than that, it's doable. It's just not walkable. You can't walk up to people's homes, right? Yeah.
I'm happy to share a template with you on.
Please do. After we do,
you need to have the thing is, it's great that you're doing some branding, but you've got to have a call to action on it. But you've got to do it twice, Alex. So when you list
twice. That's a good advice. That's good advice. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then you've got to also do it once you have secured a tenant, okay? Because what basically happens is, in Australia we have a lot of branded vehicles. So, you've got a full lease sign or a to-let sign out the front of the property with your branding. You've got the letterbox drops that goes into the street. You've got your vehicle going backwards and forwards. And then you're doing the letterbox drop again. So it's a concentrated level of branding in that little region for a short period of time. So you are all of a sudden looked at as that market expert in the area. Plus now we've got social media that we can jump onto as well, and we've got a lot more access to using social media to really ramp up that branding. So having a call to action on those letterbox drops is really, really important. And the good thing about being able to walk around, Alex, is if there's a mum pushing a pram, guess what I'm doing? I'm stopping her. I'm saying, hi, how are you? I'm the local real estate agent, and I'd hand her the brochure and I would say hello to her. So it's creating network. And every street has got that one person that's always in the garden, and they know the whole area. So I'm sure it doesn't matter what country you're in, we've all got that one person in the street that's there watching everything.
So, guys, Dennis, let me summarize this, because I need to bring the audience into this real quick here and have a moment of truth with everyone. I work with a lot of clients, okay? Very few people are doing this. So what Dennis just discussed, kind of 3 elements or 3 tasks your business development person should be committing their time is building referrals with local realtors, leading with value, organizing investor meetups, or you call them information nights, bringing speakers, getting that stuff, and then finally also doing the for listing, for rent announcement throughout the subdivision and the neighborhood. I bet you you're not doing this right now, and the reason why your business is not going to be growing as fast as hustlers like Steve Rosenberg, and we're going to talk about Steve a little bit. And look, I hate to just pounce on Steve all the time, but he is an absolute hustler. So I guess what I'm bringing this into is, like, these are hard things. They're not trivial. Right? This is not a podcast that will give you a trick of the trade and say, okay, well, if you press this button 16 times, boom, 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 that is the lead. No, that doesn't work that way. You can spend money on all property management. You can spend money with 4.5 and Google AdWords and all those things, but you have to commit to doing these specific sale things. 4.5, for example, we do a lot of conferences. You see us at every NARPM event. Dennis is flying out to speak to PM Growth Summit, which is, by the way, thank you very much. We'll look forward to you teaching 2 sessions. And maybe handling some office hours and do Q&A. So the 150 lucky people who get to attend PM Growth Summit, by the way, tickets are still available at pgrowthsummit.com. We'll get to hear Dennis speaking live and ask questions. But the first 3 things he covered just now, they're not your everyday bang on the phones kind of stuff. These are foundational for building the relationships and networking and referral business. We haven't even gotten to the to the numbers game yet. So let's go ahead, Dennis. I'm sorry for this interruption. I just want to bring my audience, my tribe, these are my people, but I want them to realize that without a professional salesperson, business development person committing to these specific tasks, there's just no way for a property manager or even a business owner to engage in these things with quality effort. Right?
No,
makes sense?
That's exactly right. Yeah, and those things that we're just talking about are just a couple of examples of what a BDM can do. A property manager's job is to look after the management, and they find it a little bit difficult to want to grow the rent roll because it's creating more work for them. We've done some studies over here in Australia from the initial phone call that comes in when a potential owner is thinking about renting their property out. There's 17 hours of work until you are actually collecting money for that owner.
Oh, So I could see
17 hours of work.
I could see the little bit of hesitation on the side of a property manager to take that phone call, to do more work. Yeah, they'll get paid more, but it's incremental. They don't really feel it. And those, and usually the property manager mindset is not a hunter. They're a farmer.
Yes.
They're great at farming, but you want to push them into hunting, and then you're wondering why your sales calls are going unanswered. And believe me, we record hundreds of them. We know property managers are just not the right people to handle these sales calls. Yeah, you can patch it if your sales guy is sick, but that's it. I wouldn't trust the growth of your business to people who actually produce and farm for your business.
Yeah, spot on. Most people that are in a position of a BDM, Alex, they're driven by money. So it's having those incentives to drive to get more listings. You're talking about earlier. You asked me a question about what's that magic number. So what we do here and with the people that I'm training is it's not about just having that one number for them to reach. We have increments, so their bonus will continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger the more they list. So they don't hit their number and then they stop. Oh yeah, I've got my 15 or 10 for the month. I'll just build them up and I'll patch them in for next month.
We call it sandbagging, yeah.
Sandbagging.
Yeah.
Yeah. So most offices that I come to, I find that typically happening. So it's like have a base bonus for the first 5 properties, but then the next 5 it might be a higher bonus, but they all percentage goes up. Some offices pay on a percentage bonus of how much annual income it brings in, because they don't want the BDMs to reduce the fees to win the business. So if they reduce the fees, it affects their wage. So there's different ways of looking at it. But the mindset's definitely money is definitely a good driver for a BDM to want to list, and they're not thinking about the work that it's creating in the office, which can in essence create another problem when you've got one person bringing all these doors in, and then you've got these angry property managers that have got to do all this extra work. So there's a balance that needs to be created within the office as well.
Oh, so this is key actually. So our director of account management essentially is our property managers, right? Those are the ones who do marketing campaigns, and our director of sales who do BDM and sales. They actually meet. I'm really blessed with the way we handle things. But these guys meet and talk, and we do have falling outs, right? We do have problems. Salespeople want to push, sell more and more. They have quotas to hit, and the account manager's like, whoa, man. Yeah, but then if you don't have salespeople, if it's all account managers, they just won't take your calls. You want them to grow. Good point, man. Good point. I think this has been super useful. So I really want can you give me maybe 1 or 2 more kind of key areas or key tasks for BDM? So far we got them busy building referral networks with realtors. We're gonna investor meetups. We're gonna have them doing some mailers or be responsible for mailing just listed, kind of like real estate sales, but just rented or for rent in a neighborhood. What else you have them do?
Okay, so before I say the next one, I've just thought of something that an office is doing. So you're not allowed to put anything in the letterbox, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're in a hotel and you've got those signs on the doors that says "Do not disturb," are you allowed to walk up and put something on somebody's front door?
No idea.
Because I've got 2 offices in Australia. One, my old office that I train in our local area, plus one in South Australia where they're doing their branding on a doorknob, and they're actually putting it on the doorknob. So just to throw that out there, that could be something that might lead away. Look into your legislation. That's my disclosure to find out if you're allowed to or not.
I see there's an advantage of walking the neighborhood and putting those things and talking to people. But if you can't do that, just mail the darn things. It's inexpensive and it's effective. In either case, check your laws, because we got restricted with this thing here. But so what's the next task? Let's jump. I'm very impatient. I'd love to hear what else can they be doing? What else?
You could have me on here for hours talking.
Sorry, Andy. Yeah, I will.
The next task, it's actually one that everyone always forgets about. It's the current managements that you've got. The current managements that you actually already got in the door, the ones that you're managing. There's brothers, there's sisters, they've got multiple properties themselves, but have you actually asked them? Have you actually sent them a letter? Have you actually picked up the phone and said, have you got any other properties that we can assist you with? Do you know anyone else that would like to have the same experience that you've got? So I'll explain one of the systems that I've put in place, Alex, and I used to do this personally. So when I was listing a lot of the managements or getting a lot of the doors in, the girls used to say, oh, the owner's saying, Dennis, you promised them this, and Dennis, you said this. So I said, okay, how about I start calling these owners 2 weeks after we secure a tenant, and I'll put myself on the line and I'll say, okay, Alex, it's Dennis here from Integrity. I came to your house a few weeks ago. I told you how wonderful we were. Now I'm laying myself on the line, Alex. How did we go in securing a tenant, marketing your property, and were you happy with the processes? Hopefully you would say it's wonderful, right?
Right.
And if you didn't, I would say thank you for the feedback. I'll get off the phone and we'll put something in place and we'll fix that. But if you did say, Dennis, wonderful, thank you, you guys are great. Alex, I really appreciate that you've had an amazing experience with our office. Do you know anyone else that would like to receive the same experience as yourself? At the moment, we've got a special where I can offer you. And it might be a promotion where you might give them 1 or 2 or 3 months free management for every referral that you successfully list. So you've got to give them an incentive. So you can offer incentives and referral systems to all of these business people around you, but what about the people you've already got? Because they've got friends. And over in Australia, we like to think that investors are like fish in the sea. They stick together. They all know somebody else that's got an investment property.
That's very true.
Yeah, so we've got to remember our current office, our current numbers that we've got. And another little trick: whenever a new staff member came into the office, guess who was the person asking if they know anyone? Whether it was a new girl at the front desk, I'd be saying, "Hey, my name's Dennis. My job's to grow the company. Your parents own any investment properties, or you know anyone that's got an investment property?" I was continually asking. By the way, so we had a referral system within our office. If they referred business, they got paid a bonus. So I was the one that would remind them that they'll get a bonus. So office staff plus the current management, offering them a referral system. But the best way to do it is picking up the phone and speaking to them, Alex.
So, great. All right. Another rant from me. I apologize. But here's what we got. People, I think the first, and I say, talk to my buddy Mike. He's a property management company, big one too. And I was like, well, have you hired a business developer? And we've been talking about this for months now. In 6 months, he hasn't hired one. I'm like, why not? Well, this and that, and I don't have that many leads. I mean, we only get 10 leads a month or something like that.
You hire a BDM to create leads.
See, we just talked, and Dennis just gave us, Dennis, bdmcoach.com/IU or AU or some .au, but go get him. I mean, he just gave us 4 ways to have your business development person busy and creating leads, not just answering the phone. We haven't even gotten to answering the phone yet. Man, we spent 30 minutes, 4 ways, solid ways. They're not easy, but they're very doable. Done before, it's we just build a system out of it. And we haven't gotten to phone calls yet. So, sorry, didn't mean to. I mean, I am really excited about this.
Can I just ask, is your friend coming to the conference, the PM Grow Summit in January? You need to make sure you introduce me to him so I can help you educate him that he needs to hire a BDM.
Oh, I'll have him call you or email you sooner than that, I think.
So that one year I listed 237 managements. Okay, that was my second year. Do you know how many? Our office only grew 108 doors. Now, if we didn't have a BDM, if I wasn't there listing and generating leads and listing all the properties, our office would have went backwards 129 doors.
Wow.
We would have went backwards, okay? But because I was proactive in finding the doors and generating the leads and listing the properties, we actually did increase. So a BDM, there's so many offices, Alex, that for example, your friend is getting 10 leads a month. How many are they converting? 5, 4 a month?
Yep, about three to 6, right, depending on...
Yep. So how many are they losing a month to sales or owners moving back in?
And one of the conversations we always have is like, hey, we're staying even, but I'm happy we're staying even. So they're plugging the leak just, right? They're just plugging the leak. But if the leak increases, all of a sudden they're now behind. This is absolutely true. It's the nature of recurrent service, but people don't need their properties. They sell whatever it is. There's always they call it a leaky bucket, right? It's it's just the nature of the business. You got to understand it. You're not growing. You're dying.
And I dare say there's more than 10 leads coming in. They just haven't identified them. So my job as a BDM coach is to come into an office and identify the blockage that's stopping the leads. And it's stopping the why aren't they converting? If they're only converting 5 out of the 10 leads, they've got a problem with what they're saying on the phone. Why aren't they getting
tell me more about that. What are some of the common blockages? We're getting into gold nuggets here. Let's leave a lot of these real gold nuggets, like the platinum nuggets for the PM Growth Summit, because I really want people who attend get the best of you, Deniz. But give us a little bit of a teaser here. What are some of the blockages?
So one of the biggest blockages is actually not identifying the leads that are coming in. So at whatever point. So a lot of the times, if somebody says they're thinking about selling or renting, it only goes to one department. It goes to the sales department, because property management, they're thrown down the back of the room. They're not thought about. So a perfect example to overcome that is whomever answers the phone needs to send the email to both departments at the same time. Okay, the old system is it always goes to sales. If they don't convert it to a house to sell, then they'll throw it over to the property management department. So the lead's been beaten up by the office already, and it's quite unfortunate that all of a sudden the property manager or the BDM, oh no, we really are a nice office. I'm sorry they were cranky you didn't list with them, but we will look after your property. So that's one of the simplest lost leads that I see in an office. And the second one is, the property management department don't have a contact management system. They don't have one. They have a spreadsheet, or they have emails. They keep it in a folder. They don't go back to, and they don't. And the principal of the office doesn't know, because they're not tracking these leads. So tracking leads is one of the most vital things that you need to do in an office.
And for that,
I'm dealing with an office that I've just started training in Brisbane, in Queensland, and they've been around for about 15 years, and they've got a spreadsheet with about 400 names on it. And I'm like, a new staff member comes, they're just handed the spreadsheet, and it's like, it does my head in. At least they've got a lead collection there, but there's no follow-up dates, there's no do they still own the house, and that's what a good contact management system can do for you.
Yeah, I'm with you. So those are two interesting things. So all right, I think we had a good kind of first discussion. I'd like to see what people comment and how much views we get on this show. I'm pretty sure this is going to be one of the most popular episodes. And I'd love for you to come back to the show after the PM Growth Summit, share some of the wisdom.
Sure.
I know you're working with a number of US-based companies, and you're taking these concepts here, and one of them is already wildly successful, and a couple more you're just starting with. So I want to see how you progress with those, and you gain more US clients. We can kind of talk a little bit more about how you adapt some of the strategies.
Yeah, sure. So, for example, you mentioned Stephen Rosenberg earlier, and I've been working with them for about 12 months now, which has been fantastic. So that particular office, they've employed their own lead generating system. So I just work on training the BDMs on converting more business. Mm-hmm. So we've had some strategies in place where, for example, I'm one that's always asking for the business when you're in the door. Don't just go to the house, give them your opinion, walk away and hope they ring up. It's ask for the business while you're there. And her conversions, Kelly, she's a phenomenal BDM. Her conversions are through the roof. She's now averaging over 40 doors a month.
Whoa. Well, also, let's not forget, these guys, they do investor workshops, they do radio shows, they do podcasts. These guys are working their asses off. and they have
They
been.
are. They're doing everything we've already spoken about.
Yeah, exactly. And these guys are like are blowing up in terms of growth. But so if you're an audience and if you have a property management company and you haven't seen the effects of this phenomenal explosive growth, consider hiring BDM. And before you do that, maybe talk to Dennis with bdmcoach.com.au. Is that right? Is that how people get to you?
That's right. I'm happy to share some KPI, the key performance indicators of certain tasks that I expect people to do. I can even pass them on to you, and you can spread them out for the lot.
Hey, that sounds like a really good proposal. I appreciate it. Dennis, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. This is not the first time we speak, but this is more in-depth a conversation. I enjoyed it tremendously, and I look forward to seeing you at PM Growth Summit. And thank you for sharing.
I look forward to sharing there at the summit as well. Thanks for having me over, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Dennis.